Good morning, positive people. In our positivity series today, we're going to have an attempt to discuss the Malawian economy. When I think about the Malawian economy, when I try to understand our actions as a country, our actions as citizens, sometimes I get emotional. Why do I get emotional? Reading about the primitive society where man lived, we understand man started producing from a household level. After graduating from the forest, where man just used to hunt and collect wild fruits, man gradually started to farm, started to rear animals. I think it was something to do with now a growing population and the scarcity of those things in the forest. From that, man started producing food and rearing animals for the household, up until such a time when the household was self-sufficient. It means every household had what it wanted, attempted to have what it wanted. Now, when households started producing surplus, when other households were better off producing this other than that, there came a need to start trading. When they started trading out of the surplus they produced, life progressed to the extent that some societies were better pressed to produce this crop other than that crop because of weather and soil textures and whatsoever. Some other societies were better placed to rear these kind of animals than other societies. So specialization came into play. When this happened, societies, households learned to produce better items other than the other. So there was competition. Those that produced better had a competitive advantage and had an easy go at exchanging their goods with other societies that equally learned to produce another kind of thing better than them. So barter trade was born. What am I saying? I'm saying Malawi as an economy is underdeveloped. But if you compare Malawi as an economy with the primitive society, the primitive society stands better than where Malawi is currently. I'm not apologetic on that one. Why am I saying the primitive society would stand a better chance in terms of productivity than Malawi as a country in 2022? Look at what we're doing. A few families are there self-sufficient. The rest of the families are there out begging. It's either government feeding them or donors or well-wishers feeding them. We have lost that compassion to produce our food, to be self-sufficient. Instead, we have turned out to be beggars. Now, all the households are a bunch of beggars. The majority of households are a bunch of beggars. Coming up to make a country in the status of a beggar as well. Because we can't produce and export and earn our own forex as a country, we rely on donors. The medicines we get are donations mostly. So if we run our economy on begging, if we can't finance our own fuel to run the cars we are buying, like, I don't know, like it's an epidemic, muliri wa galimoto, then we can't fuel them. We rely on begging, borrowing, all that to finance our own basic operations. Very, very sad situation. Now, the president has said recently to say, we are good at blaming one another, blame games, pointing fingers to say it's not me, it's that one. But there's no need for this. Let's just be wise. Let's go back to the basics. If we can't satisfy our households, if we can't satisfy the country's basic needs, if we can import toothpicks, if we can import fruits when we have very fertile arable soils, when we can import fruits when we have a lake running with water perennially, are we serious as a people? Let's not blame anybody. Let's blame our willingness to be self-sufficient, our willingness to stop begging from individual level to the national level. We are beggars. We rely on donors to give us money to bridge our gap that we can satisfy ourselves. Malawi as a country is below, lesser than a primitive society. Now, the economy has 3 levels of industry. The primary industry, where you produce basic goods, agricultural goods, mining, all those things belong to the primary industry. Now, as a country, we are not yet there in satisfying this industry, just by farming, just by rearing animals. We are not yet there. Are we serious? We talk about the secondary industry, where now these products from the primary industry are refined, value is added to make them, put them in a consumable way, to make them, ready for the consumer, ready for the seller, the wholesaler, and everybody else. We are not yet there. We don't have any industry. If we have any, I don't know, but we don't have any secondary industry. Now, secondary industry is where now we can now generate our competitive advantage according to those things, those products we are endowed with naturally as Malawi. The chambo, whatsoever, if we refine them, then blend them, we can stand a competitive advantage and then try to gauge ourselves on the international market. What is it that we have here, other countries have, and we have added value, and we earn our forex. And we stop blaming one another. Now, come to parliament, you have to explain the scarcity of fuel. Everybody knows that we don't have forex. Everybody knows that we have sold our tobacco, and we have a long way to go to reach the next selling period. Where will the forex come from to finance the fuel? If you call the chief executive of NOCMA to come to parliament, what do you want her? What do you want the management of NOCMA to explain? They should create forex out of nowhere. When you know our primary industry is not taking, when you know our secondary industry is not taking, what is taking? Talk about the third layer, the tertiary industry. It relies on the secondary industry. Now, in the absence of the secondary industry, this third layer is not even taking. Transporters, they are complaining all the time. We don't have the job. The few jobs that are there are given to foreigners. There's nothing like that. If we had a vibrant secondary industry, these whinings will not be there. Look at our banks. They're shining. They're making statements as if they are profitable. They are not. These banks are milking something that is not there. The secondary industry is not there. So the small and medium enterprises that are there, cross-border traders and whatsoever, and some of the primary industry players are being milked by the banks. They just throwing the money everywhere. If I can tell you the truth, the bank is earning all those money from a hardcore industry, hardcore facilities. A bank lends today 100 million kwacha on an overdraft facility, expiring after a year. By the time that facility expires, the balance on that account will be close to 200 million. The ideal is when a limit of 100 million is marked, the assumption is that they are financing working capital, and that money will be coming to make that outstanding balance, that liability, to be fluctuating to 20 million, to 60 million, sometimes 90 million, sometimes 30 million as the period runs. It's not that when a bank marks a limit of 100 million overdraft, the next month it will be 120 million. The other month, 150 million, going up. And what are the banks doing? They will just reach the review period, say, wow, your balance is outstanding at 250 million. We marked 100 million on your account. Now, on renewal, I think we should mark 300 million. But it means that they have collected interest, some punitive, sometimes charges along the way. They make their earnings. Where is the central bank to control this? There are a lot of banks that are benefiting on hardcore lending. So the primary industry is not fully developed. The secondary industry is not there. Then we have the tertiary industry that is just hanging without a foundation that should have been the primary industry and the secondary industry. Where do you get the forex? How do you finance your fuel? How do you finance your drugs? How do you finance the essential things in the country that the citizens need? Let's be realistic, gentlemen. Let's be realistic, my countrymen. This does not hold. Now let's be serious. Up on top of the papers, the distinctions we get from our academic work, let's translate that into something on the ground. And otherwise, Jesus will come again and find us. And of course, Jesus will be surprised to say, I left Malawi better than it is now. We are answerable to our children. We are answerable to the generations to come. Let's stop the blame game. Yes, politicians are as pace-setters of policy, direction of development. They are to blame because I don't think they don't know these basic issues about the industry, about where to start, what qualifies a country to be underdeveloped, what qualifies a country to be a developing country economy, what qualifies a country to be a developed economy. There are attributes and there are things you can check to say, for us to graduate from a developing country to a developed country, or for us to graduate from an underdeveloped country to a developing country, what should we do? Make a checklist. Work on that. We have been talking about this over 30, 40 years. It can't even take more than 10 years to get things right. Mega farms, whatsoever. Set industry there, set an industry there, set a manufacturing company there, set fruit refinery there. You divert some resources from somewhere and concentrate in the short term. What should we do to translate into something in the medium term and long term. What will be the results and how will they feed into one another? What synergy will they produce? Let's be positive. Let's transform our own lives. Let's not be selfish. The property accumulation, the asset accumulation we're doing, we're killing one another for. It's useless until we put our efforts together to build this country. And there won't be much effort for this country to develop. My countrymen, let's be serious. We talk, this, that, this professor, this, that, this, nothing is translating. Nothing is translating. Sometimes we just listen to expert advice and expert advice, empty expert advisors. We respect your papers, listen to your ramblings. Nothing is happening. Let's put our hands together and do something for our country. I think, as I said, it has been an emotional talk, but I think I needed to empty my chest. Politicians, please direct the country in the correct road. Please. Practitioners, let's put what we learned in the universities, in our specializations. Let's be good at that. Let's make a deliberate effort to contribute to this country. Otherwise, nobody is doing anything right. Yes, call all the chief executives to parliament. Seek all the explanations they want to give. You know the reason. And the person you're calling recently gave an explanation to say there was a music concert in Lilongwe, in the capitals. That's why fuel was in scarcity. How many music concerts are taking place today? Don't take us back to the Dumbo Lemon era where I said a monkey jumped onto power generating whatsoever and there was a blackout. We're no longer that daft. Be serious, people. When you have given space to perform, when you're given a responsibility to do, please do it. It's not difficult. You are not inventing the wheel. Other people are doing the same thing you're failing to do. These familiarization visits, they've gone to India to learn from there. They've gone to China to learn from there. What do you learn? What do you learn? Spending money? Getting allowances? No. We can't go on like this. Please. This is hard talk. Of course, it won't be like this always, but where it's necessitated, we'll attempt and come hard and talk about facts. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day.